Oh, my God.
I've got something great.
And of course, Ben started recording about that.
Yeah, spoiled it.
What would GMJP do? I demoted him. I told him like he's masterclass Joel, MC Joel we call him.
That's fine.
Get out of GM.
Feel that was orchestrated, sir.
It was. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. My name is Ben. On deck tonight to talk about shooting from the Southland, the home of biscuits and gravy in Georgia. I don't know if that's true.
That's
Okay.
yeah. You got it.
Yes, and then from the middle, boring part of the country, Mr. Joel Park.
Yeah, we have electricity here, though, so it's all good. Hi, everyone.
From the awesome north part of the country. I also, well, it's not that. It's pretty awesome right now, but in the winter it kind of sucks. I'll be real. All right. You guys know the rules. Everybody comes with a topic. So,
Ben, since you came to us with a topic you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So your topic for today, brace yourself, is I want to hear about how you analyze your match performance and review the scores after the match. So you go to a match, you shoot, and then afterwards you're kind of replaying like how did it go? Maybe you're watching your match video, you look at the scores, and then how you judge like how you did, where you want to improve, kind of how you decide if you're successful.
That is a very excellent question, Joel.
I know. So
there's a few pieces to that, and I would say my focus is a bit different than most people's. So most people look at the match and they're like, how did I do? Am I getting better? So normally they'd be assessing rank, like where do they rank? What's their percentage in the match compared to other people's? Even if you win a match, you can see how other people did relative to you in that match. So assessing how you did is what most people focus on. And I think that's a kind of a complicated thing to do and kind of murky. Reason being, in my opinion, certain flavors of matches will have effects on the results. So for example, if I make the match easier, closer range, that kind of thing, it tends to compress the results together. So if you shot 78% against a dude, whatever, and all things being equal, if the match is technically easier, maybe you do 82 or 83% against same dude in same situation. Now that's murky because people do better or worse on different things. Nobody shoots two matches really the same, and so there's always fluctuation there. But so you can look at the match and determining how you did is a bit complicated, but I don't worry too much about that part. I more worry about what I want to do to get better in the future. Like what should I do to improve? So
how do you pick that out then, or how do you?
So what you do is you ignore mistakes. This is the thing that people don't really like. So, for example, in my opinion, unproductive would be on stage 3, I hit a no shoot. It cost me X number of points, and I would have gotten a better rank in the match had I not done that. Mm-hmm. That's a thing that you fucked up. That there's usually some probability of that happening. So let's say if I'm training a lot, and I shoot lots of different target types. So close targets, far targets, partial targets, lots of different configurations. And on any of those targets, I have some result that I'm expecting. So let's say a 5-yard target that I walk by shooting it, I'm expecting that I'm going to be shooting it about as fast as I can pull the trigger, and both the bullets are going to be basically on top of each other, and it should hit where I'm looking, which I'm going to look at the center of the target. I should smash a lot of A's on those. For example, if it's a 25-yard head box that I'm shooting crouched through a port, for example, even in practice, I will not have 100% success rate on that target. Like I'm gonna get pickup penalties on it. So likely there'll be a need for extra shots and that sort of stuff. So no matter what the target type is, I kind of know how they play out for me. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
So if I do hit a no shoot on stage 3 of X match, let me say this: if my performance will fall within my expected range, even if I hit a no shoot there or I make a mistake over on some other stage, I'm realistic in my expectations. So over the course of like a 20 stage match, I'm not expecting to be perfect. If there's hit a no shoot over there, fucked up that thing over there, had a miss, standing reload over there. Let's say it was a tough match, and over the course of 20 stages, those things happened that were bad. I'll ignore them. I'll be like, yep, a few mistakes, ignore, which is what most people don't do. They don't want to do that. So
I would be with you on that. Okay. I would be the one like focusing on the mistakes I made.
Right, I don't do that.
To not do them again. Okay.
Throw them away. Mistakes are always going to happen. The
True.
severity decreases with training. Where you make the mistakes, it'll be kind of you putting your skill set into practice on the stages. But yeah, so forget that. Instead, I look at the bigger picture and it's like, what skill sets or what things do I need to improve to make my average match performance go up? If that makes sense.
Would you give me an example of what skill set? You mean like shooting on the move, or like
Yeah,
close range, or like
Yeah.
far range, close range?
I'm weak on the long targets. I'm weak on the close targets. I need to work shooting on the move. My one-handed shooting is generally a problem. Whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I try to pick out the things that I could do systematically. Like if you're shooting as a machine, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at how do I make that machine better on average, as opposed to where are the mistakes happening. I can if-sick it and math my way to how I'd have done better in the match. Like I can use the practice score what if.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, I should have won this match.
Mm-hmm.
And I can put that on the internet, tell all my friends, I should have. Guys, results are all wrong.
Yeah.
Look at this one.
Right.
No, I don't do that.
We all love that. That's awful.
Super unproductive. I look
Yes.
at the big picture, not even just the course of one match, over a multi-match kind of time span, and then also look to the future. What matches are coming up? Like that'll also direct my training or how I try to build the better machine. Generally, if like a big match that I want to do well at is coming up, I'm going to focus more on technical stuff and accuracy and long partial targets, high risk shooting. I'll focus on that anyway. But the rest of the time, I'm a little more free to kind of experiment with different things, different techniques, and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
It does. That's interesting. That's different than what I do. What about reviewing the results on practice score then? Would you look at this and say like, oh, I had too many C's or too many D's, or is that you would already have that covered with
I knew that already when I shot the match.
Yeah.
But again, this is also coming from a place of looking at the big picture and having a range of results that's expected. I'll give you a good example, and it's one that you see a lot. So let's say I'm shooting a match, I'm shooting production division, I want to shoot a lot of A's, and there's one of those stages where everything is like a mid-range or long partial target, and they're partialed up pretty hard to where it's very difficult to get A's on the targets and not hit no shoots, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep,
so let's say it's a 32 round stage. I shoot that stage and I get 14 Charlies.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means. That would be more than I would like. Like based on what I just described, that's more than I would like. And let's say that I watch my shooting on the stage, or I look at it and I have a couple of those targets that there's two hits right next to each other just over the line into the C zone. You know what I mean? It's a couple. Mm-hmm. It's a thing like that. I'm probably going to look at that stage and be like, yes, this is the stage that has the statistically higher than average Charlie count. I'll just disregard that. The same as if there's a 32 rounder that I get, well, honestly, I get lucky on it and I have 0 Charlies, I'll look at that and disregard it. The highs and lows, I don't worry about them. Again, I want to look at the bigger picture. So the thing that I like looking at, did I shoot too many Charlies or not? I just look at the match aggregate. You know what I mean? And then again, I'll handicap it for the type of match it is and what division I'm shooting.
You said something that I'm interpreting as at any point in a match, in any given match, where your current performance is along the spectrum of possible outcomes for you, right? Mm-hmm. Like in the moment. So
Right.
Let me ask you this: like, in the moment, what kind of judgments are you making, and about your performance, and is that going to lead to any changes, or are you going to change anything like in the moment?
Yeah,
Or
in
are
the
you
moment,
just
really
you going to
change
like
anything.
just bookmark that you're going to remember that or something?
I just file it away for later. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that when I'll look at the match overall, and I look at my scorecard on the different stages and the times and the points and that stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that stage. Like, yeah, I try not to read too much into that stuff. I look at that as just noise.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that's difficult for people to disregard as noise because it made them feel a certain way when it happened, right? Like they're signing that score sheet and they fucking hate it. They don't like it. Or people are signing the score sheet, they just had a massive stage win or whatever, like a really great stage, and it's very difficult for them to disregard that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you felt a certain way about it and it was like it was a good stage for you, but you're not looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. Like maybe you have a train wreck, and like you're saying, after the match, a person is performing what they think is analysis, and they're wanting to throw that out just because they say I had a train wreck. When you maybe you had a train wreck because of some systemic failure of your training that was exposed on that
Well,
stage. Maybe
how
that's
about
something.
this?
Maybe you should pay more attention to that.
Let's say this guy is a hoser. There's a hoser guy. Um, they shoot super fast, maybe a little bit recklessly, and they have a train wreck at a stage at a match. So they're shooting a 10-stage match. They got 2 train wrecks in there, and then they leave the match like beating themselves over the head, like, oh, I had these 2 train wrecks. Or let's say they leave the match. They're not talking about the train wrecks. They had 2 stages that went perfect. You probably seen this too. Perfect stages, massive stage wins, great runs. And I would look at that and be like, because of the style this person is shooting, like they have this range of outcomes. They've got 2 great stages, 2 shitty stages, and a bunch of crap in the middle, and then an outcome. And the outcome for those people doesn't usually change. It hangs in the same range. And then in their thinking, they're of the opinion like, hey, if I just don't have those train wrecks, then it's going to be awesome. But what they're not seeing is if they move away from the hosing style that they're shooting, they're not going to have the massive stage wins either. They're going to have a shift in where their mid-range stages are, and then they're going to have a shift in how often they have train wreck stages. You know what I mean? So I look at it at that level.
Oh yeah, you're going to both shorten like the range of possible outcomes and move it like farther down the curve.
Right. Or it might go the wrong way on the curve initially, which they might not like. So, yes.
I just think my point earlier was I think people are more likely or more prone to dismissing as an anomaly like the train wrecks. They just say, I had a train wreck. It's not worth thinking about anymore.
Yeah,
Which
or that's
maybe
not me.
You had a train wreck because of some training failure.
Yeah. So I analyze my matches. Well, Joel, you've been on training group a while. So when you see some guy post a match video up in the silver section, like a guy puts up a match video, and I'll go through and I'll look at the shooting as a machine, where it's like, hey, you do this thing, like you hold the gun like this, you transition like this, like not one time, but like every time you transition, it's like
noticed
this.
That.
That's the stuff that I key in on, where it's like, hey, what are you going to change about what you're doing here? You know, that would apply to all stages. That's usually the best way to go.
Yeah, you're addressing the technique more than just the result on one specific stage that maybe went well or didn't go well.
Yeah, I just tend to ignore stuff as chatter a lot, or as noise, as static. So yes, Joel, that is how I analyze my match results. Is that a succinct answer for you?
It gives me a lot to think about. I like it. I appreciate you being willing to share that, Ben.
Really? Well, yes. I mean, and I'll be honest, that's not just how I look at my own shooting. I look at everybody's that way. So that's why if I'm shooting a match with you, Joel, and you have a great stage, I tend not to get too excited. And if you have a shit stage, I'm not like that upset. It's like, you know, like We'll like just wait a minute and we'll see how this thing plays out and make some decisions then.
Oh,
We'll make some
makes
decisions
sense.
together, decide what to do.
Yeah.
All right, good,
It's very,
cool,
very
nifty.
good. Appreciate it.
Let's
I
move
liked
on.
it.
Let's move on to Mr. Tyler. I'm sure you have interesting things
Yeah.
to discuss.
Well, I have a very special show and tell.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I got something recently which is very dear to me. It's the Joel Park Fan Club bracelet. On one side it says, "What would GM Joel Park do?"
Oh, my
And
goodness.
on the other side it says, "USPSA Baller." It's really the best thing I've ever seen. That's from your buddy Nick.
I know. I'm well aware.
So, thank you, Nick. But
There were accusations of collusion, I think, before this. I think there
Well-
were some accusations. Joel, would you care to retract them?
I should have thought twice when I was like, hey, Ben, we need somebody for tonight. Should I ask
Oh, no,
Tyler?
there
I
was
should've thought-
definitely collusion. I just wasn't involved in it.
yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Perfect.
No, I have something of substance as well. Pro Shop Tim might not like this actually, but I hope
me
he'll
more.
forgive me. So I use a lot of grip chalk, like a lot. I bathe in it anytime I dry fire, live fire, match, anything. And so I was going through, I used to order it, the normal stuff from either the Pro Shop or Amazon or whatever. And really just cost prohibitive. So
It's a lot of money, right? No, like down in Georgia, you're probably using if you're outside training every day, you'd use a thing a week, right?
well, like if I went outside today, I would reapply, I don't know, 20 times.
And
I mean,
on behalf
it just,
of Tim, I'm
it
going to
just-
tell
Oh,
you,
wow.
stop being poor.
yeah.
And just he would not say
Yeah.
that. No, like what you're saying. The problem is real. Pro Grip is super expensive.
It's expensive. And if you use a lot of it, which I do, like I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so if you look on the label, all that stuff really is chalk, magnesium carbonate, and alcohol. So what I do, I order this magnesium carbonate in bulk. You can get it by the pound. It comes in 8 2-ounce blocks. It's marketed as athletic chalk, lifter's chalk, rock climbing, whatever. So take a 2-ounce block of it, crumble it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and apply alcohol. I like the 91%, just the high octane stuff. It just seems to work better. But put it in until it has about the consistency of something like Pro Grip or Liquid Grip or something like that. And you can play around with it to get your desired consistency.
And then you put it into a bottle?
No, I just keep it, I do it super redneck style. I just
Leave it
get
in the bag.
a Ziploc bag.
How much do you think it costs you to make a bag, like a 2-ounce bag?
Less than $1.
Business
wow.
idea. Business idea. Why don't you just source some tubes, like some a Pro Grip style container, and then you fill that up with, what do we call it, Tyler juice or Tyler grease, and you could sell that at a place like the Pro Shop or on Amazon.
Yeah.
You could maybe sell it for $8 a container. These idiots will pay it. Think about that.
No, but seriously, here's what I would say to do.
I thought I was being serious.
It's not as good as the brand name stuff. So
Wait, why not?
It dries out faster. There's probably some additional minor ingredients like that help keep it together, help keep it moist. This dries out fast and it doesn't last as long on your hands. So what I do is use it for your dry fire, use it for your live fire training, but keep on buying the good stuff that you prefer for matches because it's going to last longer and it is higher quality. But for training, just this homebrew stuff is really good and it saves a lot of money. And I'm a Glock shooter, so that should tell you something about how little money I have to spend on
homebrew Tyler juice.
There you go.
I like it. Interesting.
Yeah, I think a pound of this stuff is like $10 shipped Prime on Amazon. So, and the big bottle of alcohol is like $1.19 or something. So.
Well done, Tyler.
Sorry, Tim.
I don't think he's gonna care. I think he'll be fine. All right. Let's get it on. Joel, what do you got?
So I want to talk about why being lazy is good. So
tell me more, Joel.
Yeah. Well, it's no secret I'm pretty cheap, like Tyler apparently.
Are you Tyler level? Are you mixing your own pro grip?
Negative.
You ain't nothing until you're mixing your own pro grip, dude.
I guess not. But I buy things that save me time when I reload or practice. So here's an example.
That's what rich people buy, Joel. Poor people buy things to save them money.
That's right. You're buying convenience.
This is true.
You're privileged, Joel.
Okay. So example would be if I'm patching targets by hand, maybe I'd want to shoot more rounds between patching them, or maybe I'd leave alphas on some close targets. But if I have a pacer gun, patching targets take no effort, super fast. I'm probably more likely to patch the targets more often. So if I didn't have something like a hundo case gauge, I'd probably be more likely to only case gauge my match ammo. I wouldn't be checking all my practice ammo by dropping it in the barrel of one of my guns, or a single hole gauge. But the hundo makes case gauging so fast and easy that I just gauge all the ammo I load. It's no big deal. I use Maglula because I can load mags faster with that than by hand. The brass chute, it's awesome because when I'm running out of daylight for practice after work, I can bring, 3 or 4 targets, do a static drill, clean up in minutes. Like all my brass just ends up in a bucket. It's awesome. So being lazy and looking for a faster and more efficient way to do things is good. It's enabled me to eliminate wasted time in practice, and I have found that I practice more because of it. Especially if I'm running out of daylight, like after work or something like that, where I don't have all afternoon. I want to shoot, but I don't have 3 hours. I have an hour and a half. So that's it. Buy stuff that save you time.
You're not talking like a cheap person at all.
I'm sorry. Well, I am cheap, but that's well worth it.
Let me tell you something. I do not have a brass chute, and I.
Did you make one? You tie some netting to a tree?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I run static drills here, guys.
Yeah, about every other month I go out. I don't pick up brass after every session. I just leave it on the ground. And about every other month or so, I'll go out and just spend a day picking up brass. And about an hour in, when my back started tightening up, I started thinking about Joel and his brass chute.
Wow.
And yeah, you're onto something there. I think that's neat to make that happen.
That was actually Ben sent me a picture when he was in Australia practicing with some friends. He sent me the picture of it and he goes, "This is the next pacer gun." I'm like, "How much is it?" Ben's like, $150. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about this.
Shut your mouth, Joel, and listen to what I'm telling you. It's the pacer gun.
Sure enough, it is. But it's like the hundo case gauge. I mean,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, I am cheap, but it's like those are things that they make my life easier, and it enables me to practice in times where maybe I wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Why do you gauge your practice ammo though? Why do you care?
Because I don't want my guns to jam or have issues, and that for me that also builds trust in my equipment. So I'm like, hey, if my ammo doesn't work in my practice gun, why is it going to work in my match gun? So what do
you do with failures? You just throw those out, or?
Yeah, when I'm case gauging it, if it's like I can eyeball it enough that if it's close, it's just a little bit snug, that's fine, that'll go. And then if it's this is questionable, I will just pitch it. Again, I know, Ben, I'm talking like a rich person, I guess, but it's
you don't talk like a poor person at all.
Yeah.
So not even a little.
10 cents compared to banging the beaver tail of my gun on some table, trying to unlock my gun. I don't.
Yeah, but if you don't have the 10 cents.
Then you picked the wrong sport, I suspect. I'm pretty cheap on a lot of things, and shooting is not one of them. For other stuff, I don't care so much.
So now you're not cheap.
I'm cheap on some things.
Change your mind?
Oh,
yes,
Ben.
Let me tell you what a cheap person would do. I won't tell you how I know this, but if you have a live a live failure, I would say. You have to rack out something in training. Later, you pick up those rounds and you put it in your inertia hammer,
oh,
and you save those bullets. Give me all those bullets. I'm not going to throw out those bullets.
Primers too?
No, probably not. But those bullets, like 6 cents. That adds up.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen poverty, Joel.
Apparently not. I've been pretty blessed, I suppose.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah. Fascinating.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to a podcast question, which after I read it, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's, I think it's kind of responding how I think it's rude AF to give unsolicited advice at matches under most circumstances. Mm-hmm. We all agree we don't like that. We find that rude.
Not a fan at all. There's times to be helpful.
Yeah, of course. And if there's something that's unsafe or like super fucked up, or somebody obviously just needs something that's different. But generally speaking, you let people do their thing.
Yep. And if they want help, they'll ask for it.
Apologies in advance. Just burned through all your podcasts in the past 2 weeks. I've been shooting for many years, but started competitive shooting just under a year ago. Currently at A classification and anticipate making M fairly soon. The one thing that elicited the strongest reaction was a consensus that giving unsolicited advice is not a good idea, which I've just reestablished. That is the consensus. Mm-hmm. I strongly believe that it depends on the person giving as well as the person for whom the advice is intended. Over the past year, I'm closely watching people to learn as much as possible. I asked everyone questions, everyone. I wanted opinions and advice from everyone. I was offered unsolicited advice many times and welcomed it every time, whether I agreed or not. So I think if you see someone eager to learn and regularly improving, it may be okay to offer advice. I am new to the game, and even I offer advice to newer shooters sometimes. As a new shooter, I can say, hey, I got a great tip from so-and-so, and it worked well for me. I'm still new to this, so I'm trying to figure out what works best. What do you think? Since shooting can be intimidating for some new people, I worry that experienced shooters not offering advice can be viewed as somewhat cold or standoffish, as if they don't want to welcome or help the newer people. My question is how to break the ice in a way that also gauges the person's level of interest. For example, if you ask what books or podcasts/videos they found to be most helpful in their training, their answer may indicate their level of interest while also breaking the ice in a non-threatening manner. Or even what gun they're shooting and why they choose that gun. Any other ideas on non-confrontational ways to help new shooters? Also, is it helpful or hurtful to our sport to stop giving advice to other shooters? This excludes know-it-alls or tactards. Nobody wants to talk to them.
I want to put Tyler up first.
I'll take it. Because I have a feeling we're all going to be on the same page here.
Yeah.
All right. I think dude has misread or misunderstood not giving unsolicited advice to new people, or not even new people, like just not giving unsolicited advice. Let me be really clear. If you start talking to somebody and they solicit advice, even in a tacit manner, that is no longer unsolicited advice. So what he's talking about, where it's like being friendly and talking to people, and then they tacitly solicit advice.
That's awesome.
That's solicited advice, which is fine. And I'm not saying don't talk to new people. Be nice. Like, hey, how are you doing? What's up? Like being friendly with them. But then for me, like, if I don't know the person and I watch them do what I would consider to be struggling on a stage, I'm not going to say anything. And it's not because I don't want to help them. It's because I don't want to offend them. And I also don't, like, if it's a girl, there'll be plenty of other people to talk to them. There'll be plenty of other people, to be very helpful. And it's like, I'm not trying to help them. I'm trying to avoid offending them. When I get to know them a little bit and I can be helpful and not offend them, then we'll go ahead and do that. Does that capture your feelings, Tyler? Or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would hate for anyone to think that by holding that opinion about unsolicited advice, it means we just don't want to help. Like, we don't want to be friendly. I do want to help. I do want to be friendly, and I'm certainly willing to do that. But the picture that comes to mind when I hear or when I think about unsolicited advice is we've all been there. the guy finishes his run, and you see this guy make a beeline for the guy who just finished shooting, so he could fill his head or give him his idea of what he did wrong or what he should do or this or that. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Or what about, Tyler, you post a match video online, and it's like, hey, hey Tyler, you really suck at like drawing the gun. You should work on that. It's like, oh, yeah, that's why I posted that online.
Thank you.
So you could tell me my reload sucked. Thank you very much.
Even more than that, I post my videos so that internet ROs can render advice so I don't get DQ'd or tell me that I should have been DQ'd.
Which is very nice of them to point out.
Yes.
Very positive. Everybody loves that.
Yeah. For all the internet ROs out there, thank you for your service. So we all appreciate that. But yeah, I want to help people, but
I don't like, quite honestly, reading this email, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I don't want to be this guy.
No. The stuff he's talking about, like how
I gotta, like, what you should not do, like, is like hey, I got a great tip from so-and-so that worked well for me. I'm still new to this, so I'm trying to figure out what works best. What do you think? Like, I don't need to walk up to some new shooter and give them something and then put it on them to figure out if it's a good idea or not.
No,
that's not helpful.
The stuff he's talking about, like strategies to initiate unsolicited advice, that's a minefield. Like, no, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah, like for me, if I'm struggling in some endeavor, whatever it is, whether I'm shooting or I'm playing a video game or I'm doing whatever, if some dude I don't know rolls up on me to tell me what I should be doing better, the response is going to be completely the same in any circumstance. I'll smile and nod until he's done talking, and I'll be cursing him out that he should go fuck himself as soon as he's walking away. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to talk to you. That's me. That's me, though. Like, I understand that all people aren't me, but I know that there's enough of them out there that I don't want to be that guy to them. I'll just like, hey, how are you doing? What's up? Like, whatever. Have just a conversation about not shooting, like not a shooting conversation with the guys on my squad. Talk to him a little bit, and then maybe a few stages in, he's like, hey, Ben, what do you think about like doing this XYZ on this stage? I'll be like, okay, well, I think you could do this or this, and I'm going to do this for this reason. I'm not sure if that's a good idea for you, but, you know, YOLO it, whatever.
Well, let me say one thing to the other people in the audience. If you are the type of person who wants advice, then you do ask for it.
Well,
don't, like, if you're squatted with someone. I know when I was a new shooter, I would squad with the best guys, and I wouldn't ask any questions because I don't want to be obnoxious, and they're there to shoot. But in hindsight, they don't care. I should have just asked the question. So if you find yourself in that position, don't be shy. Now, don't do it when they're on deck.
No, yeah.
But
okay.
Don't be shy about asking questions if you want to.
Well, one thing I've never seen at a match is a shortage of people to help when you really need it. Like, hey, anybody have a squib rod?
Yeah.
Hey, this guy's lost his magazines. Does anybody else have an extra stud of stock 2 magazines for Joe Park? Right? I've never seen a shortage of people in that situation. I really haven't. Seriously, like people are very helpful. So, I mean,
you need some fiber. You need a set of Allen wrenches. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah, like people are super helpful, and I remain unswayed. I find it a bit rude to offer unsolicited advice.
Yeah, and this guy just seems like he's outgoing, and I get it. Like some of
my very nice guy.
Yeah, some of my very best friends are in shooting. So yeah, if you just talk to the guys, you know, and you strike up a conversation and you want to be, you know, friends with the guys you shoot with, that's cool. But
he's trying to game it around, like, how do I get them to solicit advice? Which again, that's fine. You go ahead and do that.
No, yeah, and if I have a question, let's be like, you know, when they're not up, like, hey Ben, if you have a second, I was curious about the stage. I was thinking about doing this. Is this a good idea?
That is not how you talk to me, sir. You walk up to me and you're like, drink this Gatorade now before you die. And how are you shooting this stage?
That too. No, if you could like just respectfully ask, like when they're not up, hey, would you give me some help? I had questions about this, and And he's going to be happy to help you. I mean, everybody would be.
Yeah. I should say the only other time that I don't even really give people, I wouldn't say it's like advice. It's more like there have been some new people that I've seen where I just explain, like, where I'm like, I feel I don't have a choice here because this guy doesn't know. I explain how squatting works. Because there's all these rules, and if nobody tells you, you don't know. You know what I mean? This is when you're expected to be taping targets. This is when you're, not actually kind of expected not to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how the shooting order works. Because there's nobody to tell you that. So there's been a couple times where it's like, oh, this dude doesn't have a clue what the fuck's going on, so I'm just going to tell him.
There was, I don't know if he'd appreciate me saying his name, been a mutual friend we have. My very first interaction with him, that he reminded me we're, I guess, training together, so this would narrow it down. He goes, yeah, I remember the very first time you talked to me. You said, where are you going with your... He was walking towards a safe area, and he had like a ammo box, I think, in his hand, or he was going to pull out magazines or something. And I was just like, whoa, like, where are you going with that? It's like, I'm going over here. I'm like, those have ammo. Like, put those back in your bag.
Yeah,
like,
don't
go
do
somewhere
that.
else. No, like, that was my very first words I've ever said to him. It's like, where are you going and what are you doing right now? I'm like, just don't do that. And he, like, I completely forgot about that. He reminded me.
Because if a certain someone sees you doing that,
yeah,
they're certainly going to DQ you.
Yeah, like I had no idea who he was.
I can only act like I haven't seen this for so long, sir.
Yeah, and he appreciated that.
I'm not going to DQ you, and I can play dumb pretty well, but other people are onto my shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's a good time, just like unsolicited. Like, I completely forgot about it. He brought it to my memory, which was pretty funny because I remember it now thinking back. But yeah.
Oh well. Well, guys, I think this is a good time to end it. Another bang up
podcast.
Yes, it was a bang up podcast. So amazing. Thank you, Tyler, for coming on so much. I do appreciate you. Joel, you're all right too. So yeah.
Thank you.
Listeners, if you have a if you have a question you want the answer to, go to benstegger.com. Send me your question. We love to talk about things. We really do.